Revealed, a poor farmer's amazing love story transforming a virgin bride's unexpected fate in the heart of Maplewood, where cornfields sway like waves under the summer sun. 28-year-old Caleb Thompson felt the weight of his family's legacy pressing down on him. Each sunrise brought the intimate scent of hay and the earthy chilly morning dew, wrapping around him as he toiled in the fields left behind by his late father. His modest home stood as a testament to hard work, but in Caleb's spirit, dreams of prosperity began to fade like the golden light at dusk. He had sacrificed so much, hoping his dedication would echo his father's unyielding integrity. Yet, in the corners of his mind, doubts loomed larger than the endless fields of corn that surrounded him. Then came Anna. She arrived in town during the lively preparation for the annual Maplewood Harvest Festival, her laughter as bright as a summer morning. A newcomer from the bustling streets of Chicago, her wide emerald eyes sparkled with an infectious zest that lit up even the dullest of days. Caleb's heart raced with an unfamiliar excitement, a feeling he yearned for but had buried deep beneath the weight of expectation. Anna was a breath of fresh air, representing everything he didn't know he needed: hope. In her presence, he felt alive. As their connection blossomed under the sunflowers swaying in rhythm to the summer breeze, whispers began to spread throughout the town. Caleb felt the community tighten around him, suspicion and scorn tinging the air like the sweet scent of hay turned sour. The townsfolk, led by a wealthy businessman hell-bent on dictating the festival's intimacy, questioned Anna's choices. Would she really love a simple farmer? Or would she turn her back on Maplewood for the allure of money and status? The tension grew, each chuckle they shared becoming a source of gossip. Another day passed, hearts heavy with judgment, and Caleb found himself torn. Stand up for Anna, or retreat into the silence of acceptance. His heart pounded furiously, fighting against the pull of familial loyalty and the warmth growing in his chest for Anna. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the festival approached, excitement buzzed through the town, but Caleb felt an undercurrent of dread. He watched as Anna prepared decorations, determination carved on her features. In her, he saw light, a glimmer of change that could tear down the walls built by misunderstanding. Together, they vowed to confront the prejudice standing in their way. They gathered friends and neighbors, sharing stories of shared struggles, common values, and love, a celebration of unity over discord. Yet, the night before the festival, Caleb learned of the definite backlash Anna might face. For a moment, his resolve faltered as he wrestled with the sacrifices he'd made for his family. But as he glanced at Anna, hopeful and radiant amidst the darkening shadows of judgment, he felt the tide within him rise. Could their love truly challenge the deep-rooted biases of Maplewood? As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the fields, Caleb prepared himself to seek the truth amidst the festival's celebration. Standing on the stage, with the town's eyes upon him, heart racing fiercely against his chest, Caleb opened his mouth to speak. But before he could utter a word, a sudden commotion in the crowd diverted everyone's attention. A loud crash shattered the tension in the air, followed by gasps and whispers from the crowd. Caleb's heart sank. He turned to see a cart full of hay topple over, sending its contents spilling across the ground. The commotion drew eyes like moths to a flame, but the loudest voice belonged to Mr. Wendell, the town's businessman whose disdain for Caleb and Anna was well known. "See!" he bellowed, his voice booming like thunder on a summer day. "This is the chaos that comes when outsiders meddle in our traditions. A city girl thinks she can come here and change things." Caleb clenched his fists in frustration. Why did Mr. Wendell have to stir the pot? The townsfolk were eager for a spectacle, and he knew they would hang on every word. It felt as if the air tightened around him, each breath harder than the last. Couldn't they see the joy Anna brought to Maplewood? Anna, standing beside Caleb, glanced up at him. Her wide eyes were a mix of fear and resolve. "I want to let him scare me, Caleb," she whispered fiercely, her chin lifted in defiance. The spark in her gaze ignited a flame in his chest, giving him the strength he needed. "Together, we'll show them," he murmured back, sensing their shared determination cutting through the noise around them. As the crowd began to clear the fallen hay, movement swirled around the stage. Caleb took a deep breath, still battling the nerves that danced in his gut. This was his moment to stand up not only for Anna but also for the future he dreamed of. He stepped forward, feeling the gaze of the town on him like a spotlight. "Listen." His voice carried, momentarily drowning out the atmosphere of discontent. "This festival is about unity. We're all part of the same community, regardless of where we come from." The murmurs hushed as he continued, "Anna isn't just an outsider, she's our friend. And she believes in the heart of Maplewood just as much as we do." A voice from the crowd piped up, "What does she know about our life? It's different in the city." Caleb's heart ached. He could feel the judgment in every word, yet Anna stepped forward, unflinching in the face of opposition. "I may be new here," she said clearly, her voice resonating with strength. "But I'm here to experience your world. I've seen the hard work, the love, the dreams of the people in this town. That's what brought me here." And just like that, Caleb felt his resolve solidify. Anna wasn't just standing up for herself, she was declaring her love for this community. The brightening faces of a few townsfolk caught his eye, and he sensed a shift, the tiniest crack in the ice that held so many prejudices, but as hope flickered within him, Caleb spotted Mr. Wendell, his face darkening with disapproval. "This isn't over," he snarled, pointing an accusing finger at Anna. Caleb's pulse raced. It felt like the real battle was only just beginning, facing not only the judgment from the town but also the looming threat of Mr. Wendell's influence. What lengths would the businessman go to protect his interests? With every heartbeat echoing in his ears, Caleb realized the festival could change everything, either solidifying their love or shattering it under the weight of community expectation. Anna looked at him, her expression a mix of hope and apprehension. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the future appeared as uncertain as the summer storm clouds gathering on the horizon. What would be revealed at the end of this festival? Would their bond be strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead? Caleb stood at the edge of the stage, the weight of the town's expectations pressing down on him like a heavy blanket. He could sense the eyes of his neighbors, some bewildered, others angry, but a few hinted at curiosity. The melody of the festival, the laughter, the chatter seemed to fade into a distant echo. The air crackled with tension, and his heart raced as he searched for the right words, the words that could bridge the growing divide. "Right," he said, gathering every ounce of courage. "I know we have traditions, and I respect that. But we can learn from each other. There's so much more to gain than to lose." His gaze fell on Anna, who was standing tall, an emblem of resilience against the storm brewing in the crowd. Wendell's scowl deepened. "You think you can change the fabric of Maplewood? How naive." Caleb inhaled sharply. He had seen how quickly fear could turn into anger. "We aren't trying to change anything. Just to enrich it. Can't we open our hearts to new ideas, a new way of thinking?" The words hung in silence for a moment before a murmur spread through the crowd. Some shifted closer, intrigued by the exchange. Anna stepped forward again, her voice rising above the gathered townsfolk. "Tradition can be beautiful, but it can also hold us back. What about allowing ourselves to grow? To accept love and friendship from those we once considered strangers?" Caleb's heart swelled. Yes, that was it. It wasn't just about him and Anna, it was about the whole community. Suddenly, a man in the back, Sam Miller, spoke up, "But what if we lose ourselves in the process? This town has its roots, and they run deep." Caleb nodded. "And that's exactly what we want to protect. We're not asking you to forget who you are. We're asking you to remember that we're stronger together." He locked eyes with Sam, hoping the sincerity in his gaze would reach him. Gradually, a few murmured agreements rose from different parts of the crowd. Caleb's heart beat faster, tentative hope reigniting them. Wendell wasn't finished. And what happens when these new ideas lead us astray? You think it's all sunshine and rainbows? You'll see. They come for our traditions first, and then what's next? Anna's face clouded with doubt as Wendell's words sank in. Caleb squeezed her hand, grounding her in that moment. Mr. Wendell, he said carefully, change is intimidating for everyone. But it doesn't have to be a battle. This is our home and we are all caretakers. He gestured at the festival decorations fluttering in the breeze. What about all this? Scouting over the colorful displays, he continued, traditions have evolved over time. They're alive. It's what gives them meaning. After a long pause, a woman spoke up, courage trembling in her voice. Are we the kind of place that shuts people out? The crowd began to murmur again, the sound building, lifting with a swell of shared feeling. Caleb could see Wendell's grip on the crowd loosening, even just a bit. Don't let fear take this day from us, exclaimed Caleb, looking directly at his neighbors. Let us celebrate the love that's here today. He could feel the energy shift like the first spark of dawn creeping over the horizon after a long night. It wasn't over yet, but at that moment, they were allies, together under the same sun, but the tide wasn't fully in their favor. As Caleb's words echoed in the air, he glanced at Wendell, who was visibly seething. The threat of retaliation loomed like a dark cloud. Remember, Mr. Wendell warned, his voice a cold whisper, everyone has a breaking point. Caleb's stomach twisted. He knew they were winning hearts, but what would Wendell do next? Would he use his power to strike back in a way that would ripple through Maplewood? As the murmurs of support grew, Anna's eyes sparkled with determination. They still had the festival to get through and with it, whatever challenges would follow. Caleb had to stay sharp, not just for Anna and his love, but for the very soul of their town. What would Wendell's next move be? And could their emerging bond withstand the impending storm? Caleb could feel the moment shift, the crowd swaying like a field of wheat in the wind. The cheers that began echoing through the gathering gave him a glimmer of hope, a brief flicker of what could be. He looked at Anna, whose gaze was both fierce and soft, filled with belief that even the toughest hearts could be changed. Together, she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear, the festival continued around them, children twirling in the grass, stalls laden with baked goods and handmade crafts. But it felt like they were in a bubble, insulated from the world outside their shared resolve. Caleb took a deep breath, fully aware of the storm that Wendell could conjure. Keep talking, Anna encouraged, nudging him gently. He nodded, trying to shake off the weight of fear that tangled in his chest. What if, he continued, we invited everyone to share what our traditions mean to them? Let us weave their stories into ours. Make them part of Maplewood. A ripple ran through the crowd, some faces intrigued, others still skeptical. Will you join us? Caleb called out. Let us celebrate not just who we were, but who we can be. Isn't that what this festival is about? Gradually, a few brave souls stepped forward, their uncertain expressions softening. A young mother among the crowd shared a story of how her own background had formed her view of family, bridging the gap from their home to Maplewood. She spoke with tenderness, and her voice resonated in the space like a warm embrace, coaxing others to share. As each new voice rose in the exchange, Caleb felt the air lighten, the tight knot of tension uncoiling. He looked toward Wendell, who crossed his arms, brow furrowed in annoyance. But for now, he held back his disdain, trapped behind the push of community support. Then, an elderly man, Mr. Thompson, stepped up, his voice shaky but full of wisdom. I remember when outsiders first came here. They were different, yes, but they brought flavor to our mundane lives. They opened my heart. The crowd listened, their breaths held. I never thought I'd say this, but perhaps it's time to rediscover what Maplewood really means to us, together. The murmurs grew into excited chatter, fresh ideas swirling in the air. Caleb felt his chest rise with every shared thought, every smile exchanged. But deep in the back of his mind, Wendell's warning loomed. Then, Mr. Wendell broke his silence again, this time with a chilling calmness. You may talk of community and acceptance, but actions hold more weight than words. I won't step aside and let this town crumble. Not without a fight. His eyes sparkled menacingly, revealing a determination that dug deeper than Caleb had anticipated. Caleb's heart dropped. The stakes just increased, and the reality of Wendell's influence sunk in. But Anna wouldn't let him falter. She stepped forward, gripping Caleb's arm tight. No more running away. No more pretending we can't face the challenges together. The crowd began to murmur in agreement again. The tension stretched taut in the air, vibrating with a shared energy. Then we'll stand together, Caleb said firmly. If Maplewood is to change, we have to do it as one. Let us show Wendell that love can triumph over fear. Cheers erupted, stronger this time, urging Caleb forward. But what would come next? The taste of victory felt close, yet sharp with uncertainty. Little did they know, Wendell had already begun plotting his defiance, planning a more drastic way to challenge what they had started. As Caleb looked out over the crowd, he realized this was just the first battle, one that would ripple through their lives like the coming storm. How could they keep moving forward when the ground beneath them felt so unstable? The question hung heavy, as they readied for the fight ahead, a fight that would define who they were, not just as individuals, but as a community united. Even as the cheers faded, the air hummed with tension. Caleb felt the weight of Wendell's words pressing down on him like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. He could see the shadows passing over the crowd, the worry etched on their faces, the uncertainty crackling through their energy. Caleb, Anna said softly, grounding him. We just need to keep sharing. Every story counts. Her eyes shone with determination, and Caleb took heart from her unwavering support. He gathered himself and stepped forward once again, ready to guide them into this next phase. What if we hold a story circle, he called out, his voice cutting through the ominous air. We'll meet here in the square, and anyone who wants can share their story. We can have a potluck, share a meal while we share our lives, our traditions. Even as he spoke, excitement rippled through him. It felt bold but hopeful. A young boy raised his hand, standing on his tiptoes to be seen. Can we bring our favorite food? His innocent enthusiasm pulled a smile from the crowd. Absolutely. Caleb replied, seizing the moment. Let us showcase the flavors of Maplewood, all of us together. This could be our chance to truly connect. Lively chatter erupted as people began tossing out ideas. There were dishes named after loved ones, meals that carried memories of home. Caleb watched them share their dreams right before his eyes, a tapestry of hopes beginning to stitch itself together. But in the back of his mind, grainy doubts lingered. What would Wendell do in response to their gathering? He couldn't shake the gnawing anxiety. Could their small, brave act hold against the brewing storm of resistance? Suddenly, a voice broke through his thoughts. I grew up here, and to be honest, this town has grown cold. It was Mrs. Jenkins, her voice trembling but clear. We need to remember that every person adds another thread to our fabric. I want my grandchildren to know the warmth of shared lives. Let us wake this town up, someone shouted, followed by a flurry of agreement. The tension that had prevailed earlier was melting away, replaced by invigorated smiles and laughter, faces reflecting a renewed spirit. But as Caleb helped foster their connections, he couldn't help but glance nervously at Wendell, who stood just beyond the periphery, eyes narrowing like a hawk. He could feel that the man was silently plotting, resentment mounting behind his chiseled features. Let us make this festival a celebration, a gathering, Caleb called out. A meeting of cultures and hearts. We can make Maplewood a home for everyone. Yet even as he spoke, the clouds above appeared darker. Wendell's smirk twisted into a malevolent grin, as if he knew something they didn't. There came a chill in the air, and Caleb sensed it wasn't he just from the encroaching evening. As the sun dipped lower, drawing a blanket of twilight over Maplewood, Caleb couldn't shake the feeling that change was imminent. Would their efforts be enough to stand against Wendell's dark intentions? The challenge was escalating, now more than ever. Anxiety knotted within Caleb as the crescendo of voices echoed joyfully around him, unaware of the shadows circling close. How could they thrive against someone so determined to tear them apart? His heart raced. They could step into the light, but Wendell shadowed their every move. They needed a plan, a way to protect the fragile union blooming amongst them. And as that thought lingered, so did the looming question, would love truly triumph when fear customized its grip? The next morning, as dawn broke over Maplewood, Caleb stirred with a sense of urgency. He could hear the distant sounds of birdsong, but it wasn't enough to lift the weight resting on his chest. The festival loomed ahead, and with it, the unsettling knowledge of Wendell's intentions. That he grabbed a cup of coffee and stepped outside, the cool morning air greeting him like a long-lost friend. As he walked through town, he felt the residual energy of the previous night's excitement, but the threat of disruption loomed large. Each step echoed with a mix of determination and dread. Caleb found Anna, already busy organizing the potluck plans by the old oak tree in the square. She seemed a beacon of steadiness. "You okay?" she asked, concern softening her voice. "I'm just thinking about Wendell," he admitted. "What if he tries to shut us down? What if he tries to drive us apart again?" Anna reached for his hand, her gaze steady. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. Remember why we're doing this. It's about love, connection, and community. We can't let him take that away from us." Her words pierced through the fog of worry surrounding him. He felt the corners of his mouth turn up slightly. "You're right. I need to trust these stories will resonate." They exchanged ideas about activities for the festival, planning games and moments where people could share their stories of the town. The laughter of children playing nearby filled the air, reminding him that life, at its core, was all about shared moments, joy, and resilience. As the day progressed, more townsfolk gathered to help. Mrs. Jenkins arrived with her famous potato salad, mixed with care and nostalgia. "This reminds me of Saturday nights when we all come together after church," she said, her eyes twinkling at the memory that a few farmers brought fruits and vegetables from their harvest. Families exchanged recipes and ideas, creating a blend of cultures that felt rich and authentic. The atmosphere pulsed with unity, and Caleb allowed hope to seep into his heart once again, yet, Wendell's shadow loomed ever larger in his mind. Many feared speaking openly about the festival, sensing his lurking presence like a dark cloud threatening to snuff out the light. Rumors swirled about him, of how he'd once sworn to protect the town's traditions which, everyone knew, often meant keeping others out. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over Maplewood, Caleb gathered a few of the more courageous souls for an impromptu meeting. "This isn't just a festival. It's our stand against what Wendell represents," he said, passion ringing in his voice. "If we stay united, we can't be silenced." The crowd murmured in agreement, but Caleb caught sight of a familiar face standing back, eyebrows knitted in worry. It was Lily, a woman whose family had been pushed out months ago. She approached cautiously, her hands fidgeting in front of her. "What if he tries to stop us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have a little one to protect. I can't afford to get hurt again." Caleb could see the turmoil in her eyes, the fear that so many in Maplewood shared. "We'll create a safe space, Lily. No one should have to feel scared at their own homecoming. Together, we'll stand strong." But as he spoke, Wendell's figure crept into his mind, a reminder of the menace that could shatter their delicate peace. Would their unity be enough to withstand what lay ahead? Could they truly forge a home for all in the face of such impending danger? Caleb resolved to find a way to guard their festival against Wendell's tactics. As if reading his mind, Anna placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Her faith in their mission ignited a fire in him. As twilight deepened and stars began to twinkle, a familiar sound echoed in the distance, engine noise growing steadily closer. Caleb's heart raced. Had Wendell come to confront them, to try and extinguish their hopes before they even could shine? The figure of a truck emerged from the darkness, headed right for the square. Caleb's breath hitched. Would this mark the moment when everything changed? The truck rolled into the square, headlights cutting through the twilight and illuminating the gathering of townsfolk like a spotlight on a stage. Caleb squinted against the brightness, his heart pounding. Every eye turned toward the vehicle, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. Slowly, the engine sputtered to a halt. The door creaked open, and Wendell stepped out, his presence commanding and foreboding. He was dressed in his usual work boots and a weather jacket, but there was something different this time. A grim determination radiated from him, suggesting he wasn't there for idle chatter. Caleb felt the collective inhale of the crowd. Fear rippled through them, tightening hearts and knitting brows. Anna squeezed his hand reassuringly, yet he could sense her unease. "What do we do?" she whispered. Wendell's hard gaze swept over the assembly. "I heard about your festival," he began, his voice booming across the square. "And I'm here to remind you what that means. Maplewood has traditions that need to be respected, not trampled over by frivolity and noise." Caleb stepped forward, his own voice rising to meet the threat. "This festival isn't frivolous, Wendell. It's a celebration of our community. It's about bringing people together, not tearing them apart." Wendell's laugh was sharp, jagged. "Bringing people together? Or mixing agendas? You think I don't know what you're doing? You're inviting outsiders here to undermine everything we've built." The tension escalated, simmering with the potential for conflict. Caleb could see it in faces, defensive postures, clenched fists, even the flinches of mothers pulling their children closer. Lily's eyes were wide, her fear palpable. "Enough!" Caleb shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. "Wendell, look around. This is our town. We're proud of our patchwork of families and stories. Not everyone will fit your mold, and that's okay. If you try to stop us, you'll only deepen the divides." Wendell's expression hardened. "You don't understand the danger. You're inviting chaos, and what happens when it comes?" He pointed a finger, each word becoming sharper. "Don't say I didn't warn you." Anna stepped forward, bravely positioning herself beside Caleb. "What you call chaos, Wendell, we call love. We're building bridges, not walls. Our town can embrace more than just your vision. How can you not see the good in that?" Her voice trembled but held a fire within it that sparkled in her eyes. Beyond their small confrontation, Caleb noticed the crowd's energy shifting. Doubt lingered, but a few heads nodded in agreement with Anna. Whispers of support began to emerge from the crowd. Wendell looked taken aback for an instant, uncertainty flashing through his steely facade. But he shook off the moment, his determination returning. "This isn't over," he barked, climbing back into his truck. The engine roared to life once more, drowning out murmurs of courage rising among the townsfolk. As Wendell sped away, the silence hung heavy in the square. Sparks of hope intertwined with anxiety filled the air. Caleb turned slowly to face the townsfolk, a mix of emotions swirling within him. "So what now? Are we still standing together?" He felt the warm grip of Anna's hand, her unwavering belief a palpable shield against fear. Around them, voices began to rise, a chorus of commitment echoing through the square. In that moment, Caleb understood something vital. Their unity might just be their greatest weapon against fear. But even as they moved to solidify their plans, he couldn't shake off the feeling that Wendell's warning lingered, like a shadow just out of sight, and just as they were finding their footing, the sound of another truck approached, breaking through his thoughts. This one came barreling in from the opposite direction, dust trailing behind like a ghost. Who could it be? Would they bring more chaos, or help bolster their resolve? Caleb's heart raced again. The evening was far from over. Caleb's body tensed as the new truck rolled into view, the headlights casting eerie shadows across the square. It stopped abruptly, and his heart raced. The truck was different, older and less polished than Wendell's. A sense of unpredictability surrounded it. The crowd murmured, shifting as people speculated about the uninvited vehicle. The engine noise cut off, and a figure stepped out. It was a woman, her silhouette outlined against the truck's lights. As she walked forward, Caleb felt a wave of relief wash over him. This wasn't Wendell returning, it was Clara, the local farmer's daughter. This was no ordinary visit. Clara had always been considered a nurturing spirit in Maplewood, her laughter infectious, her touch gentle. But tonight, the determined look on her face held a weight that felt both urgent and inspiring. A few townsfolk gasped in recognition, eyes lighting with hope. "Caleb!" Clara called, her voice clear. "I heard what happened. I couldn't stay away." The crowd parted for her, and Caleb's heart swelled. Clara had always seen beyond the simple traditions. She'd been one of the first to advocate for the festival. "Clara. You're here to help, right?" She nodded, her ponytail bouncing as she approached him and Anna. "I have something to say, something we all need to hear." She took a steadying breath, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Wendell's right about one thing: there is danger. It's the danger of losing who we are if we don't open ourselves up to new stories and new people." A murmured agreement rippled through the crowd, echoing the truth in her words. Clara continued, her enthusiasm growing. "But there's also something beautiful in that risk. The festival isn't just about outsiders, it's about expanding our hearts and giving everyone a place to belong. If we don't embrace this, we'll remain stagnant." Her voice swept over the gathering, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. Caleb felt the affirmation building within the crowd, the kind of energy that pulsated and united. This was the clarity they needed. "Clara," Anna interjected, "but what do we do if Wendell tries to intervene again? How can we protect our vision?" Clara stepped closer, lowering her voice but keeping its fierce determination. "We show him. We show everyone what Maplewood can be. We don't back down, not now. Each one of us has a story to tell, and they aren't going to crush our spirit." Caleb's resolve hardened. Together with Clara and Anna, they formed a front, channeling the strength of the community. "We need a plan," he said, the nerves in his voice transforming into a call to action. "Let us gather everyone. We'll need volunteers, ideas, and passion." A murmur ignited, and Clara's smile lit up the square as people began to step forward, each offering suggestions. The chatter swelled into a lively discussion, a beautiful cacophony of hope taking shape around them. But as the energy rose, Caleb caught movement out of the corner of his eye. A dark figure lingered at the edge of the square, observing. The fading light made it difficult to make out details, but Caleb could feel the weight of Wendell's presence looming, a stark reminder that not everyone shared their vision. Despite the warmth growing among them, doubt gnawed at him. They were gathering strength, but that shadow was heavy. Clara reached for his hand, her grip firm. "Don't let fear stop us, Caleb. We have each other." He exhaled slowly, the promise of community warming him against the encroaching darkness. As the excitement simmered, Caleb felt a new determination rising within him, yet that gnarled feeling in his gut wouldn't let go. Why was Wendell still watching? He glanced toward the figure before it slipped away into the shadows, leaving a sense of dread lingering in the air. Just moments ago, they had begun to reclaim their narrative, but would they be able to speak loudly enough to drown out the threats that still hung over them? The night felt charged, full of possibilities, but also cautious. They had found courage, but somewhere, someone was plotting against them. Caleb's eyes narrowed as he whispered a quiet vow to himself. They wouldn't just survive this struggle, they would thrive. But at what cost? The atmosphere crackled with energy, as if the very air knew something monumental was about to unfold. Clara's voice echoed with urgency, igniting the hopes of Maplewood citizens. Caleb couldn't help but feel empowered, yet a pulse of apprehension thumped in his chest. They were stepping into a battle. "Everyone!" Clara called, her tone rising above the buzz. Let us plan a rally. We need to show Wendell that we want this festival not just as a tradition but as a celebration of who we are. Speak to your neighbors. Gather ideas. We can't let fear run our lives. The crowd erupted in applause, fired up by her words. Caleb looked around, noting the determination etched on each face, much like his own. Excitement began to bloom, twisting his earlier trepidation into something more hopeful. But as people broke off in groups, discussing ways to unite, Caleb's gaze drifted back to the shadows where Wendell had disappeared. "Anna," he said, pulling her aside from the buzz of energy. "What if Wendell tries to sabotage us again? We can't just hope he'll back off because we're rallying the community." Anna nodded, her brow creased with concern. "He'll try. He's always been protective of what he thinks Maplewood should be. But what if he sees that we've grown stronger? That we won to back down?" Caleb's heartbeat quickened. "We need to find a way to keep the festival safe. If we can outsmart him, if we can see him coming." The thought hung in the air, an unlit match waiting for a spark. As the crowd began making plans, Caleb felt the weight of leadership settling on him. He paced slowly, weighing possibilities. What if he could gather the town's most resourceful individuals? They could form a council, one that stressed collaboration and sharing, protecting the festival while incorporating fresh ideas. "Clara!" he called, seeking her out among the crowd. She turned, her expression bright. "I think we should create a committee. We'll need volunteers who can manage safety, creativity, and outreach. We need everyone's voice." Clara's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Absolutely. We should also encourage everyone to bring their stories to the festival. It could be anything: music, art, food. If we showcase our histories, we're proving to Wendell and everyone else that Maplewood is alive." Cheers erupted as other townsfolk caught on to their excitement. Caleb felt his heart swell, emboldened by their shared aspirations. This festival was more than just an event, it was a declaration of their existence, their ties, and the embrace of a future that welcomed all. But as joy filled the air, a chilling realization swept over him. Wendell still posed a threat. Pushing down the rising anxiety, Caleb turned to the community once more. "Let us meet back here tomorrow evening to finalize our plans. Bring everyone you can find: friends, family, even those you haven't spoken to in years. We're bringing this town together." The crowd's murmurs ignited, enthusiasm swelling louder, and Caleb took a deep breath. He could almost taste the fresh changes in the air, the smell of a new possibility lingering where fear had once stepped. Yet in all those smiles and laughter, the shadow of Wendell loomed larger than ever in Caleb's mind, whispering uncertainty. He saw the fabric of community stitching beautifully but couldn't shake the feeling that Wendell would not sit idly by. "Will this be enough?" he muttered under his breath, a question directed at the dark corner of the square. Eyes were on him, bustling with hope, while Wendell out there plotted his next move, and just as his resolve seemed the strongest, a noise pierced through the excitement: a harsh revving engine cutting through the night. Caleb turned sharply, the smile fading. That familiar old truck was rumbling back, and a knot twisted in his stomach. It was time to face the music, but what would it cost them all? As the town's spirits turned anxious, Caleb felt a new urgency igniting within him. Would they be able to withstand whatever storm Wendell would unleash? As the familiar truck rumbled into the square, its headlights slicing through the darkness, the atmosphere grew taut with anticipation. Caleb's heart raced, a chaotic mix of defiance and fear swirling within him. He could feel Anna's hand tighten around his, a silent reminder that together they could stand against the chaos unfolding around them. Wendell stepped out, just as powerful as ever, his expression a blend of smug satisfaction and simmering rage. "You think you've done anything meaningful?" he taunted, his voice dripping with contempt. "This so-called festival? I'm here to remind you, traditions aren't something to be toyed with." Caleb felt the heat rising in his chest. "Wendell, this is not just a festival, it's our homecoming. You can't dictate how we celebrate this town. The growl of collective voices from the townsfolk behind him added weight to his words, their unity forming an invisible shield around Caleb as he faced Wendell. Wendell shrugged dismissively, stepping closer, his presence looming like a thundercloud. This is your recycling of ideas, your invitation of chaos. We have to protect Maplewood. His eyes flared with the kind of intensity that made Caleb's stomach turn. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the time to back down. Protecting this town means opening our hearts, Anna shouted suddenly, stepping up beside Caleb. It's about fostering love and understanding. You're the only one creating chaos here, Wendell. The crowd erupted in support, voices rising in an echo of solidarity. Caleb took a breath, the warmth of Anna's presence filling him with newfound courage. You've been saying we need to protect Maplewood, Caleb continued, letting the passion in his voice soar. But it's not just your Maplewood. It belongs to all of us, whether we've lived here for generations or we've just arrived. Love is our greatest legacy. Murmurs of agreement spread like wildfire through the crowd, igniting hope where fear had threatened to take root. Wendell stumbled back for a moment, likely shaken by the force of their unity. But Caleb knew they couldn't let up now. Caleb raised his hand for silence. Listen. Tomorrow's festival will be a celebration of all our stories, different backgrounds, different lives. We're here to learn from each other. We're not going to back down. Speak for yourself, Caleb. Barked Wendell, regaining his composure. And let the town see what happens when you turn your back on tradition. It was a moment suspended in air, tension crackling like electricity. But Caleb wasn't finished. If you want us to remain stuck in the past, you'll only hold us back from a brighter future. Don't you see? Maplewood can thrive through unity, not division. Let us all hold those threads of difference and weave them into something stronger. As Caleb's words echoed through the square, he felt the air shift. People were leaning in, nodding their heads, accepting the truth ringing in his voice. Even amidst the uncertainty looming over them, their hearts began to beat with a shared rhythm, a symphony of resilience awakening. Wendell's expression faltered, a moment of vulnerability peeking through. You're only fanning the flames of change, Caleb. I'll show you the price of your upheaval. With that, he turned sharply on his heel, retreating to his truck, leaving the tension lingering behind him like the fading roar of thunder. Caleb stood still, looking out over the sea of faces around him. The doubt in the air evaporated, replaced by renewed determination and hope. He turned to Anna, who gazed back at him, her eyes glimmering like jewels under the fading sun. We can do this, Caleb said, confidence surging through his veins. That night, the gatherings grew more energized, laughter and ideas intertwined amongst battles of dreams. They shared stories, old and new, and visions layered together, each person revealing pieces of their identities unveiled through the shared meal. Clara stood up to lead, rallying thoughts and sparking creativity. As the night deepened, the community felt transformed, a tapestry woven from the threads of different histories, each story adding depth to the fabric of Maplewood. But amidst this newfound synergy, Caleb couldn't shake the feeling that Wendell was still plotting, lurking in the wings of that darkness. The festival day dawned bright and hopeful, but Caleb remained on alert, the feels of Wendell's threats still echoing in his mind. Yet as townsfolk decorated, laughter rang out, and excitement coursed through the air. Every moment that passed grew stronger. They were ready to face whatever tidal wave of discontent Wendell could muster. When the festival formally began, the energy was palpable. Caleb stepped up to the stage, heart racing. It was time to redefine what Maplewood meant. Together. United we stand. He called, and the crowd roared back, a wave of emotion cascading like a heartbeat throughout the whole town. Love will prevail. As the festival unfolded, joy radiated from every person present. For the first time, Caleb felt that he wasn't just fighting for himself or for Anna, but for everyone who called Maplewood home. Each voice added to the chorus, growing louder, hearts uniting, wrongs righting, traditions evolving into something beautiful. As the stars began dotting the sky, Caleb took a deep breath, looking around at all the smiling faces. They had transformed together, challenged the shadows, and emerged shining. Yes, the battle wasn't quite over. Wendell would still resist, but they weren't just a scattered group anymore, they were a renewed family. They had witnessed each other's struggles, shared their triumphs, and intertwined their hopes into an unbreakable bond. Caleb knew they wouldn't falter. Together, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. This is the moment. The moment to invite everyone to stand together. Now, if you feel inspired by this story, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread these messages of hope. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. What did it mean to you? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.